Hello and welcome to another week on Talking Dogs on a Monday. Only we're talking dogs on a Tuesday. Yes, indeed, bank holiday weekend, some exceptional racing, and well, the main topic of discussion is the Barwon Racing Irish Laurels. Four wonderful quarterfinals at Greyhound Park on Saturday night. We spoke about it last week, how they were nice and spread out, the big names, and well, many of the big names came to the fore. Tremendous racing, and this Laurels has really caught a light. Exceptional semi-finals to look forward to next Saturday night, and soon after that the exceptional final on the 8th of November. As you can see, I'm joined once again by the exiled one, Tommy Lyons, and of course, Barry Drake, who has put a few quid into the petrol tank and the car is working, or we assume it's working, although he seems to be sitting there motionless. Hopefully he would be recording this while on the move. Anyway, Barry, you got the car sorted.
Back on track, Ian.
Back
Yeah.
on track. Tommy, I think that says it all. Back on track. The dogs were on track on Saturday night at Curraheen. Brilliant performances. Obviously, in terms of the clock, the eyes go to Ballymac Satanta, but I thought there was so much to enjoy about each and every one of the four heat winners.
Actually, you know what I loved about it? I didn't get a chance to go because I had to make a late trip to Dungarvan on Saturday night, so I couldn't go. Kids getting in the way as usual. But I what I loved about it when I was watching the heats back was it was competitive racing. You looked at the clocks and you go, this can't be competitive. This had to be runaway victories. It wasn't. I mean, even the track record equaling run was anyone's race up to the first bend. That's how good it was. That's how good the actual racing was. And even though when we get to the Barclay, we'll talk about it. Like even the other Ari showing phenomenal early pace, and then Lenny's tank flying home. I mean, just everything about it was so good and so competitive. Kind of, it seemed to be that sort of night. Because even look at the final of the 600 in Shelburne Park, which we'll talk about a bit later on. Same thing, like ferociously competitive. So I think like that's what I want in racing. I know we love to see like a really truly top dog go and do big times and win, and like we were all about Buckle Diamond through the Derby last year. But like you want a dog to be forced to do those times
Yeah.
because if it doesn't, they won't win the heat. It was brilliant. It was absolutely like I said it to lads unashamedly. This is as good a Lars as I've seen for a lot, like depth wise and quality wise, and the fact that they dogs are still qualifying as well. It has the potential. I know you were saying like brilliant semi-finals and brilliant final. Hopefully, it will be a brilliant final. But by God, it's been so good so far. It has been, to my mind, the best I can remember in terms of overall quality. Maybe not individually, but overall quality.
I wasn't as sure when I first saw the draw, but it's the fact that those two or three dogs have come forward as well to add to what was already there that really adds to it. It's obviously seems strange to say it, but it was stronger in depth in the second round than it was in the first round. You know what I mean? And the
And
right
like that,
dogs
that
in
might
that.
sound like a funny statement, but I know where you're coming from. I know
Yeah,
exactly where you're coming from. That's what we want. You want to, you separate the wheat from the chaff and get the good stuff to keep qualifying through and get something to come and say, hey, look, I can do 28-10 here as well. So just don't just rule me out. Like so, yeah, that's a good statement. I can understand that completely. That you think the way I think when it comes to racing like that. That's what we want.
yeah. No, it was great to see that, and it also gives you something that to sort of get your teeth into. Like it's all well and good if the established runners came every time to these competitions and just did what they did, and nothing was coming through. It'd be
Yeah.
pretty boring. But again, we've seen the emergence of the likes of Ballymac Satanta, Ballymac Brandon, and others, of course. And we'll get to that Bart Leahy as well, a special run. But Barry, I'll not be back. Held the record for 3 years. Now she has to share the record with Ballymac Satanta. I would suggest on the steps of Curraheen Park on Saturday night, there was no great shock that he went on to go so fast. We've been saying here for a couple of weeks that he was a fast start away from doing something like in the 2770s, and you know he does 2781. He's not too far off where we think he could go, although at this stage it's going to be tight enough trying to get that run around the corner. Maybe this was his chance to do his record, and in fairness to him, he did equal it.
Yeah, absolutely, Ian. Everyone knew that there was going to be a massive, run on the cards when he just got the better of Solo and Go there at the opening turn and, in full flight down the back straight. It was, a performance of the very highest order. And as you said, he really has made a name for himself over the course of the last couple of weeks. He's put himself on the map. Everyone's talking about him, not here in Ireland, but further afield. It's great to see, yeah. And as I said, just an unbelievable run. And it was a night of, top class performances. We had a couple of match races, we thought, with Solo and Go against Ballymac Satanta, and of course the other Airy and Lenny's Tank. Another mouth-watering clash. I'm sure we'll talk more about that shortly. Yeah, but it was just a fantastic night all round, and looking forward to the semi-finals next Saturday night.
Yeah, it has to be said. Like you see, as Tommy said, it was still competitive. Solo and Go was right there. He was holding a narrow advantage into the corner. The trap one end of things was the difference. I would like to point out a klaxon alert that trap one, Ballymac Satanta did go off favourite
4-5, yeah.
as predicted.
Don't worry, I checked it. I checked it.
As predicted by myself last week. Not only just favourite, clear favourite, odds-on favourite. I think that deserves a second point as way of reward for my prediction skills. But Solo and Go made it competitive down into the third bend as well. Like I remember watching him Saturday night and thinking, he just eased on from the second bend. And then you watch it back again the next morning, you go, oh, he actually closed on Ballymac Satanta into the third bend before Satanta then just outstayed him and pulled away. But it was a huge run by the runner-up as well.
It was a brilliant run by the runner-up, and so much so that like I think connections could come away Saturday night going, give us trap one next week and we'll see what we can do. Let's get to the final, and because it's the one thing that's not ideal is still a huge amount will hinge on the draw because of the early pace involved. And we've seen a few times reminders again. Like I went against the trap one the other night with Solo and Go, thinking that maybe the two dog could break well enough if Ballymac Satanta broke like he had done the two previous rounds, he might have been in a small bit of trouble. Enough to let Solo and Go grab the rails, and getting around Solo and Go, as you've talked about it, Ian, how tightly Solo and Go rails off the last bend. If you want to get by him, you've got to do an extra at least 2 lengths of work to get around him. You're taking at least 14 spots off your clock, and all of a sudden, then how do you beat a dog like Solo and Go if he's in front of you? It was that tight, and if Ballymac Satanta had done a clock like he'd done the first or second round of sectional, he wouldn't have won the race. But he popped up and did 23 or 4 Barry, was it? I can't remember what it was. It was something extremely fast anyway.
Was but like, so he's about 2 spots behind him at that stage. Imagine maybe just even to 1 spot. So he does it 3:23, 3:24.
But like I've said it here in the last few weeks, the way Ballymac Satanta runs the first 2 bends is phenomenal. At the pace he's going, the way he's accelerating into the bend. Now, I know he broke the other night. How he can run them as well as he does. How many times you've seen dogs go up to the bend, rattling up to the bend, and move off into lane 2, lane 3 because they're going that fast. Ballymac Satanta, and he's quite a big dog. He's a good size of a dog. He's a phenomenal talent. He really is. I'm kind of glad he's matured here, but I do love one thing about it, because I'm trying to be consistent about it at least. I just love everything that comes out of that Bar 1 sprint now. I mean, he made his debut in the Bar 1 sprint, the first round of the Bar 1 sprint, finished third behind Stone Park Brown in the heat. I think he got knocked out in the second round. Ballymac Brandon was in as well. I mean, was Droopy's Patriot was in it. Anyway, to my mind, they're beating nothing. To me that maybe it's to do with something we've talked about in the last couple of years, where the calendar is becoming really, really well organized. I know there's still a couple of little bumps along the way, but it's allowing you to develop from that, and you can be a Derby dog from it, or you can be a Laurels dog from it, you can be a Ledger dog from it. By God, it's some great ground or some great place to kind of school or to improve, or to compete at a top level, but also sharpen up and become proper greyhounds. And that, I mean, I think the Bar 1, as I said last year, we talked about the year before. The Sprint Cup leads greatly towards this competition nowadays, in particular.
And it's funny that Bar 1 Racing sponsor both. The 2 real speed tests on the calendar. The Irish Sprint Cup and the Laurels. And as
I'm looking Ian, but I'm looking at this looking at Ballymac Satanta going, the way you stay, the way you kick a little bit again off the last bend, there's no reason you're not a Derby dog. There's absolutely no reason.
He should be bang up there for next year's Derby betting already.
He should be. At the moment, I'd have him top of the betting.
Prince Nassim was third in that heat. He stayed on at the end to pick up Lemon Herbie, who had turned third off the corner. 15.85, 3.22, 27.81. The 3.22 would have been solo and go, but only just marginally ahead of Ballymac Satanta. But that 15.85 tells its own tale. Both greyhounds are huge down the back straight as well. Ballymac Satanta is just simply just that bit too strong off the closing corner, and he went on to win in good style by what was it in the end, 4 lengths. The second runner is doing 28.09, like comfortably amongst one of the fastest qualifiers, of course. The magical bitch later on in the card went a little bit faster, shall we say? But yeah, massive one, 27.81 goals, the joint record now with I'll Not Be Back. Barry, we're going to start with the opening heat now. Droopy's Patriot. He I didn't think it was too tricky a draw myself. I thought he'd comfortably lead up 2 and 4, but I don't know whether it was made to measure. Took a step right, or Petrucci's Paper took a step left, but or maybe both. But he took that dreaded bump. A dog like him taking a dreaded bump at boxes, for him to show the immediate acceleration after that bump to still get across and around Fay Point Harvey, driving the opening corner. I was mighty taken by this. I actually didn't see this live. It was obviously clashing with something in Shelburne Park, and I remember watching it back the next day going, and by this point he'd been priced up, and he'd now third favourite with the firms. I was somewhat surprised that there was, I'm not saying it's an overreaction, but I'd still have him bang up there nearly amongst the favourites, because his pace into the corner was phenomenal after basically giving him a head start.
Yeah, definitely. Top class performance, and as you said, had to overcome a bump early on. And as you said, he drove a fantastic opening corner. He really cut the nose off Fair Point Harvey there on the inside to slip around in front, and from there, the outcome was never in any doubt. Heading down the back straight. Look, he's a superstar greyhound. We all see what he done in the opening round of the Derby. Obviously had a couple of issues then, but Robert Gleeson has him back in full working order, and it's been really, really, I suppose, great to see him perform so well over the course of the last couple of weeks. And yeah, look, he possibly the one to beat. We'll touch on the semi-finals later. He's got a lovely draw next week. It looks like he could be unbeaten going into the final, and it's just an outstanding effort once again.
Yeah, the draw is going to be all important, obviously, with the top 3 or 4 in the betting. There's no question about it. If this fella's on the inside of, let's say, a Solo and Go or Ballymac Satanta, I think he leads. I think it's simple as that. If he doesn't flush make a hames of the traps. Barry, I see he was returned 4-7. Was that how it was on the track? Was it bigger? Was it shorter? Is that where it just settled?
Yeah, I think it opened 4-9, so it was uneasy in the market. Drifted out to 4-7. But he's just a superstar ground, as I said, and he's going to be very hard to beat again next week. As you said, the draw is going to play a huge part on the final. We've got the top 3 in the betting. If one of them get trapped number 1 in the final, they're going to be hard to beat. So you need a bit of luck in the draw over the course of the next week or
Yeah,
so.
I know that. I'm just asking. I'm somewhat surprised. Like, as it was, I didn't want to be taking 4-7 after 2 strides, but I thought he genuinely thought he'd be 2-5, 3 on in this race. Are you somewhat surprised he got to 4-7? Was there any takers at that price?
Definitely. I'm not sure, to be honest with you, but as I said, he was 4-9 when I went out first, and he was 4-7 when they were going into the traps. And as you said, it looked like a gifted opportunity. Really, he had the softest of the 4 heats, and got the job done. Obviously,
Yeah, Tommy, he has class, doesn't he?
He has, and Robert Leeson likewise, because to get this dog back to this sort of form, obviously gave him a run after the Derby to kind of again blow away the cobwebs a little bit and just get him out, get him back on the track, and to get him back doing like the first 2 runs were sub 28 second runs really,
Mm.
but all but named the 2 of them were. But that run the other night again, Ian, like you said, a little bit of trouble. I'd say it was more his own fault. He kind of stepped
Yeah,
in a bit. It was only after about 25 yards that made it was a made to measure kind of stepped out a little bit. The initial move was by Droopy's Patriot, but I don't mind that. I mean he is an inside seed. I mean, I just had a quick glance at the betting, and there's still no clear favorite in the outright. You're talking about around about 9-4 each of two, and then maybe 3-1 Droopy's Patriot. I mean, they've hardly separated them. They've nudged a little bit closer to the winning line. The prices have shortened up a little bit in keeping with that, but nobody really seems to know which of them will win. Just tells again how important the draw is. But I'm like you. I love his determination to get to the bend.
Yeah.
And if he's inside you, you've got to do a hell of a lot of running to get by him. I mean,
It-
I like to see the dog that can do it.
I don't think you're getting by him, shall we say. I think you either
Mm.
get that length of boxes or you don't lead him. That's the way it is because like this is the Irish Sprint Cup runner-up, and by all accounts, he was desperately lucky in that contest. You know, himself
Yeah.
and Broadstone and
He
Sid
would,
just did each other's. They slid each other's throat in the race, and the winner, in fairness to him, produced his very best run on the night. But like this dog has stunning early speed.
could you imagine a Laurels final with himself and Solo and Go and Ballymac Satanta among the six? I mean, how good a race would that be? Like, put that anywhere in the country at any time, and people would go in their droves to watch it. Faye Point Harvey ran a good race in defeat, made to measure. I was a little bit disappointed with Born to perform in one way, but she got trouble at wrong times, and again, an inclination to go inwards at the third bend cost her because you're trying to get by Ballycown Archie. But one thing I did like was made to measure out of the second bend down to the third bend.
He's very
I
quick.
like the distance he put between dogs, himself and the ones behind, and that was key. I know he's 3 lengths clear, Born performance, she got held up, but I like that. I like that. There's a lot more to come from made to measure down the line. Like you're in very hot company, very young, and he only has one win on his card. He'll right that wrong. If he's not in the Laurels final, I dare say he'll find something on Laurel's fine night, but he could well be. I like that. I really like that 2 to 3 move. It said to me, there's plenty of class there, plenty more to come.
He's very quick. He's very similar to his brother, Glengar Silent, obviously a Derby finalist. Just that first few strides are an issue for him. He's not blessed with early speed. There's no question about it. But he does have definitely a big engine, and he's like no certainty. It was only his eighth career start. He's definitely one for next year. One dog who just continues to improve and or impress, shall we say, is Faye Point Harvey. He is just so metronomic at boxes. It pops out again, and like he's beaten 5.5 lengths in the second spot. He's doing 28.66, but sure he loses 4 of them at the opening corner. Like the nose really was cut off him. But just the dog you can really set your watch by Barry, a term we use constantly to describe Fate Point Harvey.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, he rocks up at all the big competitions, and gives it a real good go into the semi final now. He's got plenty of supporters down in Cork, of course, bred down there, and they'll be hoping that he can progress through to the final. But yeah, we'll wait and see next week.
Yeah, a dog, Tommy, we've seemed to have spoken about an awful lot.
Yeah, and you know what? If he's in the final of a Laurels, you've got plenty of thinking to do about him because like a 324, not Saturday night but Saturday week. He does that he gets to a final and does that in the final. He's gonna cause a bit of trouble for Lazar, a headache for some of the other more fancy greyhounds. He won't be like strongly fancy in the final. He led Ballymac the previous week, and after Ballymac kind of fluffed lines early, and Ballymac went by him. Absolutely no shame in that because we know how good Ballymac is. But as you said, Ian, he's a big 80-pound dog, and he could have something to say. He could have some say in it yet.
Yeah, he's well able to handle himself, no question about it. He got a tricky draw now the next night. Like
Yeah.
he's in 3, but he's solo and go on 4, Ballymac Brandon and 5. Both of them will be hammered to the corner. Unanimous Leo up his inside. And Prince Nassim, who is certainly not afraid to get involved in, racing. So like it's a very, very tricky draw. We move on to the third heat, and this was, you know, by all accounts, it was all up to what Fate Point Ranger did early, and I'm afraid he didn't come away racing. And as a result, Trina's Tribe, who we had highlighted the previous week, took a left turn Clive, and Fate Point Ranger was squeezed soon, no room, simple as that, forced to check in the opening corner. His race was done by that point. All the inside runners found a little bit of traffic. And Ballymac Brandon, who was probably out trapped by Unanimous Leo, showed the better early speed, edging across, tacked across, got to the front early, and very impressive 28-23. He's a dog that continues to improve. I really like him. I really do like him. I think he's probably just that bit further back from where Ballymac Satanta is. I think he's a few runs behind. Whether he'll ever be as good as the Ballymac Satanta, I don't know. Very few will be. But he's a really good dog. He's developing each and every night. And Tommy, this was the type of display you wanted to see from him.
It wasn't. I'll tell you why. I said to Barry last week when we were going we were going to Clonmel, I was hoping that the dog would finish second or third, and we might just be a semi-final heat where he could be a price. Because actually,
Yeah,
the more I looked at his previous runs, I was kind of going, okay, it's definitely more than this dog, and he might just be underrated some night, and we might get a price about him. Uh, I So I was kind of mixed feelings when I saw him win the race. Now look, he was obviously helped by the fact that the four inside dogs were but for whatever reason, with obviously with Trina's trial going left as well, and Fay Point Ranger, I put it more down to Fay Point Ranger missing the kick and allowing himself to get in trouble, because Fay Point Ranger has better early pace than that, or a better trapping ability than he showed the other night. But the whole inside of the track was free for Ballymac Brandon to run into. Nonetheless, it's a great run. And I said last week, I think we seem to know where his ceiling is. Relatively, we're still not sure where Ballymac St Antas is. We found out that it's record breaking or record equaling for Satanta. For Ballymac Brandon, I probably have him that maybe 2 3 lengths off Satanta, and that's
yeah.
kind of where he is. Can improve a little bit, but will he ever be as good as his brother? I wouldn't think so. But a little bit, annoyed about it, because I thought it was nice enough where we might get a price about him, because it might just be underrated a little bit. Some
Yeah.
people might have spotted a couple of the bits of the ability in the dog. So look, it's a terrific run, and yet another one for poor old Liam Dowling.
Yeah, poor Liam Dowling. I will point out that I had highlighted Ballymac Brandon on a couple of occasions. But Barry, this was, if you were back in one of the outside pair, this was the sort of, this was the scenario you were hoping for, in a sense where we know the tree and his tribe cuts inwards. We were thinking the Fay Point Ranger might just get out well enough to clear Kilgraney North, certainly, and then maybe just take the bump and go on about it. But it was just them eating the sandwich early, and all of a sudden, it was all about the outside of the track.
Yeah, it sure was. And, the winner has been, fantastic in the competition over the course of the last couple of weeks. Of course, Liam Dowling has a, strong hand in the event, couple of big players. But I really like the performance of the runner-up as well, Unanimous Leo. He caught my eye in one of the earlier rounds again. And of course, trap number 6, Curraheen Park is never ideal. And I thought he showed a lot of pace. And he could be just one that's left in the competition that could be a bit of a dark horse over the course of the next 2 weeks. Really like that from second.
A trap one draw next week is certainly playing to that narrative. Like,
Exactly.
if he traps like he did the other night, it's very hard to see how he doesn't turn into the three.
That's the thing, yeah. Definitely. No, he's certainly not without a chance now. Very, very talented greyhound. And
Juvenile Derby runner up, of course. I think he was a Derby semi finalist. I think the Derby final was the only competition he didn't reach the final of that he's taken part in. He's been that type of greyhound. Obviously, he won the Champion Open and race down at Kilkenny. And Pat Buckley knows how to get one into a classic final.
Yeah, exactly. And he's got stunning early speed, and I think there just might be one or two more big runs to come from him. As you said, trap number 1 next Saturday night. No doubt he'll have a couple of followers there from the inside of the track, and he's definitely one to watch.
The aforementioned Trina's tribe qualified in third, Tommy. Just he just does enough in the early yards to concern one or two sets of connections. As it is, he's entrapped
Yeah,
in the semi-finals, and it's Druby's Patriots on his inside. Now, with nothing on Patriots' inside, only the inside fence, he should be okay. But it's just one where he can't afford to miss it, because Trina's tribe will be across him.
he will be okay. He will be okay, because Trina Tribe isn't a flying starter now. Obviously, if go back to missing the kick slightly, the potentially an issue. But yeah, the only thing is, you know, as a greyhound like Trina Tribe gets that a little bit closer to the fence, the going left is a little bit less marked. So it's probably better off that the Trina's Tribe is in there rather than out in 5 or something like that. You know what I mean? Where it would be maybe a much bigger impact. I'm just looking here out of trap 2 one night. Trina's Tribe ran straight for about 15 yards, and then kind of went in. So it's not going to be a dive in left job. So look, deserving of the place in the semi-finals,
Of
just been
course.
running really well.
If you leave Druby's Patriot alone for 15 yards, it's okay.
It's
He's
enough.
the ball
Oh,
over. Game over, ball burst. He's shooting up the fence. Simple as that.
yeah. That's
16-11,
that's
334 there. 16-11 for Ballymacbrandon out from trap five, probably losing a few spots by edging across into the opening corner. He can probably do 16 seconds, maybe better in time with a better start. Unanimously, as I said, I thought he slightly out trapped Ballymacbrandon, but Brandon did show terrific sprinting pace into the opening corner. Why wouldn't he? He's plenty of sprinting experience, including a 2094 around Dundalk of a 705 section. Like that's running. You know what I mean? We know that he can really go to the third bend. And yeah, as he strengthens up, just don't be surprised if he continues to improve a bit. We'll go to the final heat, and this was actually after the last race at Shelburne Park. I watched this on the ground floor alongside a couple of people, and we were, it was the betting was suggesting it was between top and bottom. That's how they finished. But in reality, this was only about whether Magical on Fire trapped on terms. Because if she did, she was going to be very hard to contain into the opening bend. It was a race where there wasn't a massive amount of early speed, Barry. And she had her draw on the fence and she made full use of it. But the story was the 27.89, not the fact that she justified favoritism. It was more the fact that she went as quick as she did.
Yeah, but in fairness, she's a lady with massive pace. Often caught the eye when coming from well off the pace. And as you said, look, she had her perfect makeup there on Saturday night. A couple of slow starters on her outside. I know, in fairness, she did produce a good start from the inside of the track, and after a couple of strides, it was game over. Obviously, she's got a really difficult draw now. Next Saturday night, she's out in the wide outside, but she's as quick as anything in the competition. And when she broke like that, it was no surprise to see her go so quick. And in fairness to Lemon Joey, thought he'd done a lot of running as well. For second, he was he 3.5 lengths behind. It was still a big performance in defeat, and he could still have his say in the competition over the course of the next 2 weeks. But from the inside of the track, Trap One in Curraheen Park is just a massive plus, and once again, Magical on Fire made the most of it.
Yeah, it's funny. Like it sounds like it's not meant as an insult or anything like it, but Lemon Joey is just the ultimate competition dog. Like you don't say, oh, he's a class act and whatnot. Like he's won a classic, he's a Produce Stakes champion, but like he just knows where to, how to get through, to do things right, stay out of a bit of trouble. Ran very hard in defeat, but just had no answers to the winner. Barry, the bitch came down for the Shelley Fennelly. She ran in the opening round, didn't run the next round. Now they brought her down for a couple of trials in Cork prior to that. Did she come in season, or like she was only out for a couple of months, so it probably wasn't season. She came back with a 29.67 at Shelton Park, 550 yards. So she wouldn't have been able to do that if she wasn't, fully out. Maybe I don't know, but do we know if she came in season or
Yeah,
what?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you, but
Yeah.
as you can see there, she had a couple of huge trials around Curraheen Park before that competition as well. So it's obvious they've held her in the highest of regard now, I'd say, for quite some
Yeah.
time.
They've probably stood to her. Like she's had four more runs now around Curraheen Park, but she's a record of what, three from five around the place, and a couple of good trials as well. A length second to solo and go in last weekend's round. So she has the right amount of experience at Curraheen Park, Tommy. She's obviously in great form. She's just gone 2 years of age. She's a September whelp. She's a bright prospect, and if you give her that inside draw, she's more than a match for most.
Yeah, look, she learned quite a bit from the box the previous week because she did a 3:44 the previous week when she'd beaten a length by solo and go. She did a 3:29 the other night, which was all the difference because Lemon Joy ran a hell of a race in defeat. He he's a funny dog in the sense that he's a middle seed, but the way he runs Curraheen Park, he's running like an inside dog. I mean, he was right over on top of Magical Fire at the first bend. He was nearly leaning in on top of her, trying not doing that untoward, just trying to run a tight line. And he lost a couple of lengths just by doing that. It didn't make a difference to the result, but I just wonder from a middle draw what he might do to the bend from a proper middle draw. He probably might do three or four. What he might do to the bend and how he could be really competitive. I mean, it looks like he's not staying on strongly. He's doing 28.13. He's probably lost a couple of lengths. He's basically, to my mind, he's shading 28 seconds in that run the other night behind a really, really, really good bitch who stays very well, who has still relatively lightly raced. Um, I just, you know, it's 27.89. It's a great run, but that box is such a big help and a bit of experience from it the previous week. So, um, Both of them are crackers. Blast off Heffo does what Blast off Heffo does.
Yeah,
Just,
he's
dead on
been
it well.
he was third
Mm,
in the ledger. He was
yeah,
also in the quarterfinals at the Derby. He was a finalist in the Produce Stakes. He just
yeah,
like very much like Lemon Joey. He knows how to make the frame, and even if things are against him, he keeps on going and he tries to the final whistle. And as a result, he picked up Booze Burgess, who once not leading was probably going to be vulnerable anyway. And Blast Off Heffo's still there for Philip Buckley, and he has a habit, he has a habit of big and having won at a decent price in the final of these sort of competitions, including this Blast Off Effo. He's no stranger to it. So he's not a dog you'd be keeping an eye, you'd be, sorry, taking your eye off if he was in a, like, let's say you owned the dog in third and you saw Blast Off Effo in fourth and behind you off the second bend. Like, you'd be concerned.
yeah. You would. A bit like when I was talking about the heat I ran with Born to Perform, thinking that maybe Made to Measure might be in trouble here, but actually he ran. That's why it caught my eye so much. He ran really well because he had a strong stare behind. But Blast of Heppo is running exceptionally well. I thought the run behind Lemon Joey in the previous round was very, very good.
Yeah.
Very, very good because
He's a
Lemon Joey
real
got out in front and
He's
did
a
what
real
Lemon Joey can
strong
do.
running, honest greyhound, and will give his
Yeah,
all tonight, and that's what you love. Just the semi-finals briefly. Droopy's Patriots in one in the first heat. Trina's Tribe, Blast Off Heffo, Ballymac Satanta, Made to Measure, and Magical on Fire. It's not an ideal draw for Ballymac Satanta, but you can imagine he'll be okay to qualify. He should get the better of Blast Off Heffo. Perhaps Trina's Tribe into the open corner should allow him to turn close to the pace, but I'm fully expecting Droopy's Patriot to go round in front. Magical on Fire doesn't have an easy draw. Made to Measure, it all depends where he gets the run off the second bend rather than into the opening corner. He's going to be off the paces, I imagine. But in terms of probably picking a winner, the market is probably going to suggest it's between 1 and 4, and the top will no doubt be favoured as far as I'm concerned.
like it is between 1 and 4 for a win in the heat. Unless trouble befalls him, which hopefully it doesn't. Um, yeah, it's Curraheen Park racing, isn't it? The draw,
Yeah.
the draw will sway you towards the top, but the raw ability of Satanta. I said there
I,
last
I
week
say
when we
I
were
say
talking.
that I say that when there was nearly 7 lengths between them on the clock last Saturday night, but
Yeah,
we know that the top can do it 27.90.
but yeah, but like I was saying, like I said last week when we were chatting, that I'd have Ballymax Satanta over any dog in the competition, with the exception maybe of Droopy's Patriots. I'm not sure where I stand on that. Now that Droopy's Patriots in one and Ballymax Satanta's in four, I'm actually sorry that I'm going to have to tip something the weekend because I'd love to see the two of them in the final.
Yeah.
And and
Well,
and and
hopefully they will be there. Hopefully they will be there.
hopefully they will. It's just it can be tricky with that, but do you know what? you'd love you'd love what Ballymaxatanta does, having missed a kick, the way he's able to go through dogs and the way he's able to show the pace to lead down the back and stay on again, even despite the fact that he's had to work hard to get that. He's shown he can do that. He showed the other night he can pop out in front and do it and stay on again when a dog is threatening to get involved or to push him hard. And Drewby's Patriot, we know, stays.
Yeah.
Has top class 550 form. So hopefully that'll help both of them qualify, and let's hope that. And if look, I don't mind what qualifies with them, but if Magical on Fire were to qualify as well, I mean, look, made to measure a chance. It's actually TriCast. I have no idea, no idea whatsoever. Any of
Barry,
those can
I'd
qualify.
say all three of us will be predicting and tipping that Patriots and Satan to go through. Listen, Magical and Fire is the obvious one to throw into third, just from the way you think and the way we think. But it's just not all cut and dry. Are you of the same opinion that Patriots will be favourite or should start favourite?
Yeah, it'll definitely start as favourite. I would have been in the same boat as you last week in terms of saying that Satanta would have went off favourite. Just trap one.
Judge,
It,
hashtag judge, Tommy,
I know, but
hashtag judge.
it's just
Hashtag fucking after time and hashtag after
no, it's just trap one in Curraheen Park, lads. It's if you have a real fast dog or fancy one in there. We know what happens. Yeah, look, I'll be going for Patriot, but obviously highly respect Satanta. And in terms of predicting third, I wouldn't be surprised if Blast Off, Heffa, Made to Measure, or Magical Fire. They're all very strong. So if one of them turns in the pitch, they're going to be hard to be knocked out of the frame. But yeah, it's going to be a brilliant semi final.
Yeah, unbelievable semi-final to look forward to. The second semi-final, one unanimous Leo, two Prince Nassim, three Faye Point Harvey, four Solo and Go, five Ballymac Brandon, and six is Lemon Joey. It's just that little bit tricky now. The fact that Faye Point Harvey's just on the inside of Solo and Go is just a slight concern for Solo and Go. Unanimous Leo's got a great draw. We know where Ballymac Brandon's going to go. You know, if he gets the room to edge across, Lemon Joey's got a great draw. Um, this is far more competitive than the opening heat, as far as I'm concerned. Barry, your first thoughts?
Very, very, very tricky, and I wouldn't be surprised. Obviously Solo and Go. I was kind of surprised to see it. I think Barwon had a 2-1 favourite to win the competition. Obviously, he's probably been the best back dog in the competition, I would imagine, especially from early on. But I thought maybe Patriot or Satanta would be favourite. But look, there's little between the top three in the market anyway. But Solo and Go will have to do everything right next Saturday night. There's a couple of real, such pace around him and everything. He's just going to have to do everything right. I hope Prince Nazim qualifies
Yeah.
because he's owned by Stan and Kim Bergen, and Stan, we could do with him in Curraheen Park every Saturday night. The man is just a breath of fresh air. What an absolute gentleman. Well, he got to meet him there recently, but you'd look forward to meeting him every week. So I'll definitely be shouting on Prince Nazim anyway to finish in the first three, and we'll get him up for the final, hopefully.
There's a film coming out about Prince Nassim soon. Fully enough, Pierce Brosnan plays Brendan Ingle. Pal of mine actually forwarded
So
on
if
to
you
me
want to say
because
he's playing Prince Nazim.
yeah, no, a pal of mine sent it on the trailer because he's a nephew of Brendan Ingle, a pal of mine. So it's interesting to see. Do you remember Prince Nassim? Like back in the '90s, he was absolutely required viewing. Tommy, many's a night I got to the pub to watch him. Late '90s, early 2000s, I believe.
Spent more time dancing than punching.
Bit like myself, and I
That's
wasn't much of a
very, very
dancer.
true. You are the Prince Nassim of this podcast anyway.
Tommy, what's
But
your view on this contest?
I'd like to say I know I don't. There's so much early pace in it. You know what? I always find when you think that all of these can go to the bend well, right? And you wouldn't think this Princess seems a specialist early pacer. You wouldn't think the Lemon Joy is a specialist early pacer. But when you're looking at a race where you think all six of them can go to the bend well, you try to say, okay, this one won't. And what happens if this one doesn't? This is the least likely one to get
Mm,
to the bend in front. And what happens if that misses or doesn't break like the rest of them? It might open it up. I think I possibly go with Solo and Go, but like Ballymac Brandon has nice early pace. Is that enough to keep Lemon Joey out? I mean, Lemon Joey, you said that he's a great draw, but even though Ballymac Brandon edges left, he'd only edge left. He doesn't tend to edge left on top of dogs.
yeah.
He's not a stupid ground that just bumps into things on the way across the rails. He doesn't do that. Lemon Joey edges across as well. I mean, it could be so tight. This is bit like I don't know that this is. I think Solo and Go will be shorter than it should be for this heat,
Yeah. I get you.
and for that reason,
I
like
get that. I
I,
get that.
I think that's what will happen. He'll be shorter than he should be for the heat, and maybe I'll find something that might be a bit of value to have a bet on. But at the moment, that's an impossible heat. That really is an impossible heat.
If he does his 322 from the other night, I think he'll be okay. I think he'll go around in front. But if he doesn't, Prince Fay Point Harvey is probably doing a 322 to the winning line. He's not doing it into the corner. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
he's a really natural fast starter. So, it just won't be easy for Solo and Go just to drop.
Unanimous Leo can break. Unanimous Leo
Yeah.
has not yet. You got a draw that where we can say we definitely see the best of him tonight. He hasn't had that draw so far, so maybe he could go up inside, and Fay Point Harvey could be enough of a buffer to kind of hold off Solo and Go. Even if you slow Solo and Go half a length, it's a different race completely. If you
It
hold them up
is.
half a length in the early yards, that half a length becomes a length by the bend, and all of a sudden it's anybody's race. So
Yeah. Like no matter how each of the semifinals get, like, it's pointing towards a very, very, very strong Laurels final, another cracking Laurels final. We've had some gems over the last 10 years or so. Like we had 2 or 3 years there where it was just unbelievable. I think Rocky Bay Foley may have won a couple of them, but like they were stunning finals, and this is shaping up very similarly. Well done to Barwon Racing, well done to everyone involved in Curragh Park. The place is running great. The track seems to be absolutely in great nick, and the results have been born on the track. We'll briefly touch on the Bart Leahy Memorial, folks, because um, a couple of dogs in this that probably could have run in the Laurels and would be bang up there in the betting. Obviously, the first heat were won by Low Profile. He's just a nice, strong running greyhound. He was comfortably led by the Bull, who showed all sorts of early speed. 16:01. The Bull ran out of steam. Low Profile was staying on strongly, got there late to land the spoils. I like the third one as well. On or All the Doll. She's a bit more age and experience about her. So she was just running hard. But good winner, Low Profile. The Bull, though, tremendous early speed. He's one to keep an eye on, Tommy.
Yeah, he is. He is. That sort of those sort of sections suggest you can compete at a higher level than need to. Low profile. Gary might know more about this, but I'm gathering that there's been talk about him and that he's been really, really well regarded. He's been extremely sharp prices in his runs
The
in
market, the
Curragh Park.
market is the market has got hold of him ahead of his form, shall we say?
Yeah, yeah, big
He
time,
he'd
big
never
time. So
deserved
I'm,
to
I'm
be
so
priced as he was.
unless it's quite possible that he's done an unrecorded in Curragh that's monstrous because you can see the ability he has, you can see the
Yeah.
pace that he has. So maybe something like that. I don't know, but the mark is definitely getting there before the dog, as you say, has shown what he what deserved those sort of prices. But he's going to have to develop early pace. I have a funny feeling about this dog that there might be a good bit more early pace in him yet.
Yeah, low profile, Barry. Have you heard much?
No, not really, but obviously really impressed with his performances. He stood out in that heat the other night. He was, about 6 lengths behind at halfway and absolutely powered
Mm.
home. But the SPs don't tell the story of that race because the bull, I think it was 4-1, but was backed very, very, very heavily late on. Weren't they unlucky to collect now? In fairness,
Yeah.
he ran a massive race in the feet, but they were on.
Oh, gee. Six
Yeah,
lengths clear. You do 28-29. You're thinking, oh, lovely. you
yeah, I
know,
know.
oh, sick.
Desperate.
The second heat is the one we all came to talk about, to be honest. The other Ari, very, very, very highly thought of. And not only was he backed heavily to win this competition, but he was also backed on the day of the competition to win next year's Derby. And that tells its own story. He ran well in the opening round, but this the other night was a different gravy. 1581 off at 323. He may have tied up a fair bit. There's no question about that. Lenny's tank was staying on well, but I'd say it was more the other Ari tying up than Lenny's tank flying home. Like he was running hard to the line, Lenny's tank, no question about it. But I think the other Ari is the dog I'd be taking out of it. His early speed was absolutely astronomical, Tommy.
It was phenomenal to be as far as he was and to hold it for as long as he did. Yeah, he came home. You can see why he's in here and not in the Laurels, obviously, because he's
Mm,
lacking in experience. A couple of runs is all he had coming here. They obviously think the world of him, and this is a great competition. 10 grand to the winner. It's huge competition to be aiming at. For a dog like this, it's absolutely ideal. You're getting a taste of A2 company. Well, no, no, sorry, A2 grade, but nearly open class company. That's what you're getting. That's what you're getting here. And the early pace is phenomenal. He's going to have to stay better, obviously, but he's so young. This is just part of his development. Like Lenny Tank ran an absolute monster race in defeat again. Can he ever match him? He's much better than the early pace he showed the other night.
yeah, much
Much,
better,
much better.
much better. Like this
Uh,
dog was challenging the Droopy's Patriot and Broadstrand Sid into the opening corner in Dundalk. So we know how fast he is in the opening stages.
I suspect he's a dog that's going to improve through this competition quite a bit.
Mm.
I suspect that when he had the bit of a hold up in Dundalk, had to be taken out of the competition. Was it semi-final stage or yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
semi-final stage, taken out of the competition.
Yeah.
He he was impressing us no end. We were talking about him a lot, and had he been in the Laurels, I probably would have chanced something on him had the price been right. I probably would have chanced a small bet on Lenny's tank because I think he's got phenomenal ability. Um, that said, the last few weeks have shown us there's a good few dogs in that category at the moment. So this is a brilliant race to take them out of. I mean, the other Rima ran a great race in third place, but the other Ari is like a top prospect, and Lenny's tank the same. I'm looking forward to seeing them again.
Barry, I assume that this fellow took the eye off the head, out of the head, of watching from the steps.
Yeah, definitely. Look, obviously heard you saying last week about he being back, I think, for the English Greyhound Derby, early next year. And, obviously,
Irish Greyhound Derby. I
Irish
only get
Greyhound Derby, is it?
yeah,
Yeah. The performance, as you said, 1581, 320 odd, sizzling early sectionals, and he's such an exciting tracker now. In fairness to Lenny's Tank as well, missed the kick, maybe didn't run the bends as great as he can, and still ran a massive race in the field. I just can't wait to see them maybe go head to head again in this competition over the course of the next couple of weeks.
yeah. I think they avoided each other next week.
Yeah.
I saw the draw briefly on Saturday night, but I think they do avoid each other. The other Emer, obviously very impressive, run back in third. She's yet to win a race, but it's not far away. We move on to the third heat. This went the way of Ballycowan Robin. She was second all the way, led basically in the final five strides. Morrigan May led much of the way, and four Burgess Hazel ran on well to grab second. Decent run by the winner, but again, it's the other heats that are going to really grab the sort of the headlines.
Yeah, definitely. She's probably the worst one, if it's fair to say that, in that Pecky's flyer litter, and she's still doing 28:51.
Yeah,
So that'll tell you how talented they are.
yeah, absolutely. Tommy and Dad there.
The runner ran a cracking race. The winner was just a little bit green, moved off to about trap 3/4 early, and kind of came back in at the bend and ran up behind the leader, and just maybe cost itself a little bit, maybe shaved 10 spots off it. Burgess Hazel ran into trouble, showing massive pace down to the third bend, and actually ran a cracking race in defeat as well. So two decent dogs. They're going to have to improve that.
Yeah, three bitches first, second, and third there.
Yeah.
You'd imagine each of them will make a decent brood in the future, all well bred, all have the right attitude. We move on to the last of the four heats, and this went to Beano's Yank. He missed the kick, he showed great early speed, didn't quite get to the front, was second out of the opening corner, led before the third bend, won in 28:53. I would suggest off a level start, there's certainly a 28:20 in him.
Yeah, and definite improvement, massive improvement in the dog as well. That was only his fourth ever run, like, and time to continue to improve quite a bit. I think the market had him quite short. There was 1 to 2 the other night. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's plenty more to come. January pup.
He raced at 74 pounds the other night. If you told me he was 82 pounds, I only watched it a couple
I
of times. I just thought,
I think
geez.
this. I thought the exact same thing watching the race.
Yeah, yeah. Barry, nice dog is Beano's Yank. Obviously, he'll need to be much sharper at boxes. Like he does a 352 in the opening round, and on Saturday night in Victory does a 339. But to the eye, it looks slow. Like there's no question if he's doing a 330 or a 328 or something like that, he's going to win this pretty comfortably.
Yeah, I think he summed it up perfectly there. Spoke with one of the owners after the race. They're the Mannix family. They have the Beano's prefix, and often come across a good dog. And I think a lot of them, and definitely more to come. So keep an eye on him going forward. You'll definitely see him go quicker.
Yeah. Right, that's it from Currageen Park. We look forward to the semi-finals of the Bart Leahy Memorial next weekend, and of course, we look forward to the semi-finals of the Barwon Racing Irish Laurels. Barry, that's where you're going to leave us. You're at the mechanics, is it?
Back to the day job, unfortunately.
Barry, a pleasure as always. I hope to speak to you again next week, but we'll
Great
kick
stuff.
on and keep up the good work.
All the best, lads. Take care.
Thanks, Barry.
You're right.
Tommy, we'll take this opportunity to move around the country a little bit. We're going to mention the Fair Warrior got underway at Mullingar on Saturday night. Some good performances, all very much a muchness on the clock. But there were one or two that sort of stood out a bit. Obviously, Phoenix Memphis went marginally faster than most of his rivals. He did 21:45, completing a quick double for Ian Riley, who also won with Oh There Jack. But the dog I was fancying before the competition, and I continue to fancy, is Stefan's Galaxy. He's a dog who has proven form in good company around Shelburne Park. He's at 18:55 in Shelburne Park. Ran very well in the semi-finals of that sprint competition that was went on Derby final night. Behind him in the semi-finals was a dog called Ballymac Satanta, amongst others. Didn't have luck in the final, missed the kick and got crowded in the opening corner. He's a very talented sprinter, and I suspect, having run Mullingar once or twice now, he will improve considerably for it. I think he'll emerge as the one to beat.
Yeah, he kind of edged in a little bit, left, got a bit of a bump early, but showed lovely determination and pace. I think he is the one to beat Ian. I mean, we saw that pace in that competition, which we referenced so much over the last few weeks, that in the finishing Derby final night in Shelbourne Park. So, yeah, I mean, to me, he looks the obvious one to beat. He just missed the kick tonight. He got knocked out and was showing massive pace into the bin. So I think in Shelbourne Park that night. So I think what he did the other night, he'll only improve on. I think
Yeah,
that long run in Mullingar will suit him as well.
yeah, it really
Long
did.
run to the bend.
There's a terrific long run to the corner. Like they just seem to be
Yeah,
run forever. Like it's the same sort of sectional as Dundalk. That says it all. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Obviously, you want them running to the third bend because often dogs be a length in front with 10 strides to go, and they're slowing
no,
up into that third bend to get chinned. And the angle is so deceptive. Actually, caught Dave in commentary in one of the heats the other evening that he called the winner, and I think it was beaten ahead. You know, it was one of those, like, it's really, really difficult. You know, Everton's a photo finish as far as I'm concerned. If it looks like it's a length between them, call it a photo. The semi-finals of the Lifford Oaks were at Lifford on Saturday night, of course, sponsored by Boyle Sports. A cracking prize on offer up there. The first semi-final went the way of Dale Road Maya, beating Ashmar Una and Magical Sapphire back in third spot. And the second semi-final, somewhat surprisingly, Magical Mag was picked up on the run-in by Westway Rossa. Two quality performers. Back in third was Hackney Tango, the Dundalk track record holder, of course, for the 525 yards. Some very familiar names. A good competition up in Lifford, Tommy. It's important that, as I've always said, this is the first time this competition has been run in a few years. It's important for tracks like this that they get their big night, and the Lifford Oaks is certainly going to be one of them.
yeah. Of course it is. I think only in the last couple of years they've come back to promising in Galway with the Oaks
Mm.
as well. So and we seem to highlight it a bit more, and there seems to be more about it, which there should be. And like when you get the quality greyhound, like you see the people are willing to travel to Lifford. It's a good spin for a lot of trainers, and it's good dogs up there, good bitches up there. So yeah, I hope
There's
they
a,
have a
there's
good night.
there's been a few men that have never been afraid to travel to Lifford because they know they're arriving up to one of the best racing tracks in the country. It's a great
Mm.
big strong gallop. It's always in great nick, and listen, long may it continue, and hopefully they get one or two more big competitions.
Yeah, I hear here. Agree with that.
Yeah, Magical Mag was beaten at 4-5, but I suspect she'll still be favourite to win the final next weekend. Well worth your while. Get up that part of the world, beautiful part of the world, and Lifford will certainly roll out the red carpet for you. And to boot, you'll have a cracking final to look forward to. Now we're going to head to Shelbourne Park, Tommy, because we saw 600-yard racing once again at its best. We were able to use superlatives following the semi-finals, two cracking finishes, and it was, well, more of the same on Saturday night. The semi-final, or the final of the Yvonne Barry track bookmaker, went right to the line. Look and Lep, I don't know what he has to do to win over 600 yards. That's four races in a row. He's run his absolute heart out. And like, certain fellas be looking at his card, beating a half length, a half length, a half length in a short head. Ah, he's dodging it. But there's nothing of the sort. Like, he's absolutely running his heart out. But he runs into Hussein Pickles for the third time. She picked him up in the closing yards, although it looked like when she does her Droopy's Agassi off the final turn that she was going to give it up. But she got back up to win. It was brilliant racing.
Yeah, it was a brilliant race, but like she must have just maybe a very slight little niggle or something, because twice she ran off the bend really, really markedly, lost all sorts of momentum. It was a phenomenal performance. I did say, we were chatting about this there about 2 weeks ago, I think, saying with the likes of looking left, sometimes like 600 is a brilliant distance, but it does take a bit of getting. And if you're
Yeah,
going to do it 3 weeks in a row, like, I don't think we'll ever have a derby, a 5 week run over 600. It
that's
takes a
true. Yeah,
toll.
yeah.
You need to have a constitution of a line to win over 600 after 3 weeks. And Kusa Pickers clearly has that, because she ran so markedly wide. Was it the second bend and then off the fourth bend? And you thought, well, that's it, gone now. But looking Lep had actually missed the kick. I actually saw the section the other night. For the other night, and I was surprised it was 5.99. I
Yeah.
thought it was worse, but then I look back and the night he did looking left at 5.90 was picked up by Kusain Pickles as well. So it didn't matter whether it was 5.90 or 6.20.
It
Kusain
was
Pickles was
actually
going to be
it was somewhat surprising to see Hussein Pickles in front at the winning line. You know, the 600-yard line, because she flashed out and she does a 598, and it was only like she was just marginally in front at that point.
yeah,
Looking at takes her on the corner and goes about it, and it looks like she's after giving away her opportunity because the laddie da turned second, but he
yeah.
had to pass on the outside of Looking Left at the third bend, and you know. he just doesn't drive when he's on the outside. If he's on the inside, he probably gets through, but there was no gap there. And as a result of them sort of brushing shoulders or whatever, Hussein Pickles arrived. She actually goes to the front before the last bend. And then, as you said, it was out to the countryside, but she got going again. And in fairness to her, she does deserve a prize of this nature. She's been
Well,
banging the drum for a long time, and like this is a really decent prize.
it is, and you know, she's a type of bitch that we thought that like could end up in the Derby final. Do you know what I mean? And I know
Mm.
she was knocked out in the quarter final. I think was it. Was it quarter final? She has the ability, but there's times when she misses the kick and gives herself too much to do. Like the heart she showed just to win that the other night, and in fact, for sure we talk about now about Michael O'Donovan. He had another nice winner on the night too, didn't he? In the shootout final.
He did. He did. No, no, it wasn't a shootout.
Was it? Was
No, the
it?
shootout
Oh
was
no,
won by Druby Slick won the shootout. He was a good winner. But
not the shootout. Yeah,
we'll get to the
what's
rest
his
of the
name?
card. Yeah. Firstly, I just want to mention Looking Lep in second spot. Carl Ram's bottom the car broken. I'd say.
Oh, like
I,
credit to him. The dog's a credit to
I'm
him.
on a little group with him and a couple of others, and someone put in hard luck, Carl. And he says it's all right. We'll get her back at the Winter Racing Festival. Like that's Carl wrapped up in a nutshell. Like don't worry about it. Sure, it's only sport. We'll get her again. Born Show ran another remarkable race back in third spot. I can't wait to see this fella over six pens again.
He's running phenomenally, and actually, that could, for the likes of him, that it should crown him that sort of the run in that country to go back over six pence. It should.
Yeah, we have to mention the laddie da obviously he lost his race at the third bend. Balnabola Jim actually ran well. I know he's beaten 5 lengths behind the fourth, but he did run well.
Yeah.
And Balnabola Joe, um, my argument for tipping up Hussein Pickles was the fact that I think I said something along the lines of will the 3 runs over the 600 take a bit out of Balnabola Joe. As it was just a missed kick because he charged into the corner. Like he had no right to be as close in the opening bend as he was from the start he made, but then ran out of real estate and was forced to check off, and that was that ball burst. Anyway, Hussein Pickles, a tremendous winner and a really good display. The second good winner on the night for Michael O'Donovan because he won the Open 525 with Hackney Matty. Hackney Matty was the one we were talking about, Tommy. It was known as
Yeah.
Matty winning around Kilkenny. That's 3 wins from 4 starts. Really liked the way he went about it. Very inexperienced, but it sat in the pitch, waited for its gap, found it, charged home, wins 2.5 lengths, 28-35, easy as you like, and you can see that this fellow has a big year ahead of him next year.
The 2,250 is the winner there for that final. A lovely little pot to pick up, having come out of an open unraced in Kilkenny, doing 28.87 on the clock in Kilkenny, 28.67 estimated. And the first run in Shelburne Park was a nice run. I love the way he tracked the third and fourth bends the other night. I think there's more to come from him in terms of early pace as well. I think he has more than he showed the other night. That the 2:14 is not his ceiling. I can promise you that. Looks a proper prospect. Looks a proper prospect.
It's a hell of a litter. Obviously, Michael O'Donovan has another in the litter, Lone Calling. She looked at a serious prospect around Waterford winning the Casey's Camping and Caravan Park, that open and race stake. It was a bitch stake this year, actually, compared to last year. She won in 28-14, beating the other Mel, and was a hot favourite to beat the other Mel, even though the other Mel had impressed in the semi-finals, telling you what they think of her. She was out of luck in her only start at Shelburne Park. Obviously, Ballymac Stud is in the litter, one of the best in the business. Ballymac Lake, who's rapidly improving, and Ballymac Kamala. So they're a very, very good litter, keeping an eye on Hackney Matty going forward. The shootout final went the way of Droopy Slick. This fellow, it took him a while, but he's after winning 2 in the bounce, Tommy. And if he keeps trapping like this, I'd say it's probably safe to say now that the penny has dropped. I'll be honest, I was a bit disappointed when I'm on a couple of nights recently where, it looked like he had his opportunity, but now that's 2 runs in a row where he's after doing things right. And I'd say it's just the case that the maturity is coming. Like he is a September whelp, like so he should have a bit of maturity, but this was a bit different on Saturday night. This was a proper performance.
He's in between two dogs now. He's slightly ahead of them, maybe half length ahead of him going into the bend. But he's in between two dogs where he's battling for his position as well. You'd have to like that, and the fact that he was able to not only fend them off, but then quicken down the back He's I don't think he's explosive change of pace.
Mm.
I think he's a relentless galloper.
Yeah, he's certainly strong. There's no question about it. He's fast. Glengar Martha was brilliant. Yeah, I don't think we need
Yeah,
to say anything about Glengar Martha. She's just set your watch bar. We'll finish up by mentioning the two semi-finals of the Paddy Merriman Memorial. Obviously, €10,000 to the winner. The first semi-final went the way of Advantage Rule. It was all eyes on Ballymacaltabel after her stunning run in the previous round, but missed the kick and never really got involved. Everywhere she sort of went, she sort of just found one in her way, and she actually showed her inexperience where she hadn't the previous week. She did on this occasion, but Advantage Rule. This was a much improved performance by this January 24. Well, Curtis Bain has been successful on a few raids to Shelburne Park of late. He's the one thing I like about his dogs is they all know how to go to a corner. He just seems to target that type of greyhound. And this fellow does a 206 the other night, got to the front and never really looked in danger. Wins in 28-39, and you get a sense there's better to come from him.
yeah. I think there is the professional kind of an effort. Though, fairness is what you want to pop out and go. Ballymacaltabel showed wild inexperience in the sense that she would have qualified had she tried to come around the fourth dog at the third and fourth bends rather than trying to go inside and then check outside. She probably would have qualified despite the fact that she finished last. She might have finished third. I think she probably would have finished third. Just inexperienced, lost for my liking. And this is what we did highlight last week. Just lost too much ground in the last 25 yards into the bend.
Yeah.
That's going to be crucial.
Yeah. The second semi-final went the way of Ballymac Gloria, who didn't do everything right in the early yards, but by God, she ran hard to win. This had the bang of an Oaks contender for next year of her. I think she's far from the finished article. She's only a May 24. Like, she's an absolute baby. But the way she ran through the pack and got chasing Magical Max and took him pretty comfortably in the end, I would say they're getting excited about this lady. You know, she's very young and like she did 28-26 last week, which was very good, obviously enough. And 28-44, though, this run was much better than the previous week. I really like this lady.
I really like this too because she could easily have come down when was it three when she checked across the back of three. She could easily have come down and noticed she seemed to kind of hit her nose off the back of the dog. Could easily have stumbled, gone down, and then to quicken again. It did cause her some degree of a hold up, not much, but some degree. But mentally for a young dog, it could have had a bigger impact. And the pace she shot down to the back, and then but what sometimes you'll see when a dog goes by another greyhound down to the third bend, they seem to ease on the bend slightly and then pick up their momentum again. She drove every yard of that home. Every
Yeah.
yard of that from the second bend home, she was galloping hard. I didn't look at sectionals, but I don't think I need to. Sometimes I say to you, you don't always need to look at the clock. It's more to
This this
confirm
this
what you're
this was a
seeing.
visual display rather than a digital display.
Oh, yeah, exactly, definitely. I thought it was a terrific effort.
Yeah, it's a good final.
She's only 63 pounds as well.
Yeah, and the dog that won the first heat is only 67 pounds. You know, again, he doesn't look it, so it's a good sign. You know what I mean? He racy
Mm.
dog, a racy dog. Some great performances in Shelburne on Saturday night. Any other business, Tommy? Before we move on?
No, it's been like I say, I'm just so impressed with the standard of the racing and how competitive. And yet, sometimes at the very highest standard, the racing can be less competitive because you think something's a standout. The racing at Currahee Park for the Laurels has been it's been unbelievable. It really has. Honestly, I'll be the first to say if it's rubbish or there's times when you're looking at Laurels going, yeah, I need two dog can nearly win this. Not this year.
Yeah.
Look,
Wonderful racing all
it's
around. We look forward to
yeah,
the semi-finals of the Barwon Racing Irish Laurels at Currahee Park on Saturday night. Will you be there, Tommy?
you will.
You will.
Please
You'll
God,
definitely
yeah.
be there on the 8th anyway, because you're giving me a lift.
I have yeah, we have matches all right Saturday and Sunday, but Saturday I will be back. I will be back Saturday this time.
Yeah, I was asked the other night at Shelburne Park by a man who was who'd be pretty astute. He said, "Does Tommy's wife not do driving at all?" I said, "He's got four kids." I said, "He didn't know when to stop." That's the problem,
And
and they're all playing sport.
and as an uncle of ours once said when I told him Noelle was pregnant, I think it might have been with the third child, he said, they're easy stock to get into.
They're hard to get out of. That's it, Tommy. Best of luck. We shall see you a week from now. In fact, we'll see you 6 days from now when we'll be reviewing the semi-finals of the Barwon Racing Irish Sprint Cup, or Irish Laurels, should I say, as well as whatever else is taking place. I know the Gourmet Island Puppy Oaks kicks off at Shelburne Park next Saturday night. Do you know what came out of that last year? Certain track record breaker, Drewby's Kathleen. I don't know if we're going to see another Drewby's Kathleen in this year's competition, but it could be worth checking out. But that's it. it from us on Talking Dogs on a Monday on this Tuesday. We'll see you next time. Good luck, good evening, God bless.
This podcast was brought to you by Greyhound Racing Ireland.